This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on VSiN PrimeTime. I'm Scott Seidenberg with you here on the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnAir. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live as we are minutes away from puck drop of the second period in a scoreless game between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. We have played the second period to go over 1.5 goals at minus 155. That was the best line we found out there on BetMGM. So we have gone ahead and played the over 1.5 goals in the second period as the Capitals will start the second period with an abbreviated power play, about a minute and a half or so of that power play at the start of this second period. But through the first period, we'll recap some of the stats that we saw as far as high danger scoring chances. It was all Carolina, leading 5-1. 5 high danger scoring chances for the Carolina Hurricanes, just 1 to the Washington Capitals. And your expected goals, we had 0 actual goals scored in the first period, but the Hurricanes had an expected goal number of 1.26 compared to just 0.34 for the Washington Capitals. The Capitals opened as a short dog in this game on home ice. The Hurricanes were about minus 130 favorites on the road here for game number 2. They took so much money that the market moved and the Hurricanes closed here at Circa as minus 162 favorites. I talked about it before the game. I can kind of understand why. Now, there's two different things when it comes to evaluating lines and movements. Do you understand it? And can you get behind it? I can understand why the movement was on the Carolina Hurricanes. I couldn't get behind the movement on the Carolina Hurricanes. To me, the value was on the home team in the Washington Capitals with Logan Thompson in net. And yes, as great as the Hurricanes have looked as far as dominating the play, and if you look at all the shot numbers, not just the shots that got through on net, which they had 9 shots on goal in the first period, 7 shots on goal in the first period, but overall shots, the amount that were attempted versus the amount that wound up being blocked by the Capitals or the shots that missed the net, they have dominated play. Through 2 games in this series, they have dominated the play. So I understand why the money comes in on the Hurricanes. I just can't get behind it. Again, value to me on the home team in the Capitals, who despite being outplayed in game 1, still forced overtime, still had their goaltender, who ranked 3rd in the NHL this season in goals saved above expected. Their goaltender kept them in the entire game and gave them a chance to win. The goaltending edge to me is the biggest difference in this series. And I know I say the same thing about the Golden Knights against the Edmonton Oilers, and maybe I just didn't respect the Oilers' offensive capabilities enough in Game 1. That's why I picked the Golden Knights. I still picked the Golden Knights here in Game 2, but we're going to get to that game coming up a little bit later on. But in terms of the goaltending matchup here in this series, I mentioned Logan Thompson for the Capitals, 3rd highest goal save above expected in the entire NHL this season. Frederik Andersen ranked 24th in the league this year. And he only played in 22 games. Thompson played in 43 games. Anderson went down. Pyotr Kochetkov, in 47 games, he was ranked 30th. 6 goals saved above expected. The edge to me went to the Capitals with Logan Thompson. The experience factor certainly can go to both of these teams. Absolutely. They both have playoff experience, more so cup experience lately with the Capitals. I mean, if we just look at the teams in this postseason that had the most cup experience, it would make sense that it's all the pretty recent champions. Colorado, but they're out. The Panthers, a lot of experience. VGK, a lot of experience. The Lightning, but they're out. And the Capitals with a ton of experience. So you give the experience edge to the Capitals. They have home ice. They have the better goaltender. Have they been, they haven't dominated the play? No, they haven't. They've been dominated. I get it. But they're also a very heavy team that can withstand the physicality that Carolina is trying to bring. I just found value on the home dog here. So I understood the line movement. I couldn't get behind it. Puck has dropped here in period number 2, and we are hoping for goals as the Capitals will begin on an abbreviated power play. About a minute or so into the first period, they'll have this power play lasting for them. And let's see if they can generate any offensive zone possession and get a clean shot on goal or two. Because an early goal would certainly go a long way into helping us cash the over 1.5 goals here in the first period. I'm Scott Seidenberg, right here on VSiN PrimeTime, here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Also keeping an eye on what's going on in Major League Baseball, as we can look to place some bets on the games coming up later on, or get a feel for any live betting opportunities we may have in the games that are in progress. Just 3 games in progress right now. Top of the 8th inning at Coors Field. It's game 2 of a doubleheader between the Tigers and the Rockies. Tigers in control. They dominated game number 1 with a 10-2 win. They're up 8-1 right now over the Rockies, top of the 8th inning. The Phillies and Rays down in Tampa. They're in the bottom of the 4th inning there in Tampa, and the Rays have taken a 2-1 lead over the Phillies. The runs were scored off of Jesus Luzardo by a Junior Caminero solo home run in the first inning, and then Junior Caminero with a sacrifice fly in the 3rd inning. So he is responsible for both of the runs scored by the Tampa Bay Rays, and we are in the bottom of the 4th inning right now. 1 out, and the Rays do have a runner on first base. I did favor the Phillies in this pitching matchup. Jesus Luzardo has been tremendous for the Phillies this entire season, and who would have thought? A guy that came over from the Marlins who had, considering he pitched the last 3 years in Miami, didn't exactly have terrible underlying metrics, okay? Yeah, he had some bad numbers because, again, played in Miami, which I know is a pitcher's ballpark, but you're not getting a ton of run support. You're going to lose most of the games that you play. Plus, it's a little bit difficult to get up, and, you're playing in the tough division. Now, it's the same division he's playing in. So the Phillies go out, they bring in Luzardo, and they want to see, if he can contribute to their pitching staff. Well, all he's done this year is go 3-0 with a 1.94 ERA this season for the Philadelphia Phillies. And in all of his starts, the Phillies have only lost 2 of the games that he has started. I mentioned he started 7 games. The Phillies are 5-2 in the 7 starts that he has made. Both losses came in extra innings. An 11-inning loss to the Braves, 4-2. A 10th inning loss to the Marlins, 7-5. Luzardo has given the Phillies a chance to win every time he has taken the mound. And here against the Rays down in Tampa, he's allowed 2 runs, both of them to just one player that's gotten him, and that's Junior Caminero. Solo home run in the first inning, sacrifice fly in the 3rd. So the only player that's got to him is Caminero. Taking a look at the live line right now, you're looking at Phillies plus 130. Bottom of the 4th, you're down 1 run, plus 130 on a Phillies team that has a better lineup than Tampa, has the better pitcher on the mound, in my opinion, in Jesus Luzardo, and who closed in this game as a minus 157 favorite. I don't hate taking a flyer here on the Phillies. They get out of this inning, the line's going to change because it is 2-1 right now. Bottom of the 4th, there is 2 outs. The Rays do have a runner on, so your live line right now is plus 130. I would assume they get out of this inning clean, and you're going to get maybe a little bit less than the plus money, plus 130 on the Philadelphia Phillies to come back. So in the top of the fourth, Turner, Harper, and Schwarber went 1, 2, 3, which means that leading off the top of the fifth is going to be Castellanos, Kepler, and Real Muto. So you got the fifth inning, Castellanos, Kepler, and Real Muto, second time through the lineup for Pepiot. And then Bohm, Marsh, back to the top in Bryson Stott for maybe the sixth inning or so. I think I'd buy in, honestly, on the Philadelphia Phillies now at this plus price here. Especially, let's look at Pepiot's numbers here. He hasn't faced anybody on this Phillies team prior to today except for Max Kepler, who went 0 for 2 against him. They did get through the fourth inning now, so the number, as I thought exactly, number has changed now. Phillies plus 110 as goes to the top of the fifth inning there in Tampa. But I don't hate taking a flyer on the Phillies right now on the live line. Elsewhere in progress, they're in the fifth inning in Atlanta. And the Braves, the top of the fifth inning right now, Braves with a 1-0 lead over the Reds. So if you have a first 5-inning bet on the Atlanta Braves as the home favorite, you got 3 outs to cash this bet right now. Spencer Schwellenbach has only allowed 1 hit through the first 4 innings, as he has thrown 4 one-hit innings, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Nick Lodolo, 4 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Matt Olson, a sac fly in the first inning, the only run scored in this game. Have to update you on what's going on the ice as we have a goal. We are on our way. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is VSiN Primetime, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on VSiN Primetime. I'm Scott Seidenberg here on the Sports Betting Network. The Capitals with a 1-0 lead over the Carolina Hurricanes. Connor McMichael, unassisted on a breakaway, scores his 4th goal here of the postseason as Washington took a 1-0 lead just 2 minutes and change into the second period. And now we have 14 minutes to get one more goal to cash our over 1.5 goals here in the second period. So we'll keep an eye on this. But right now, the Capitals with that 1-0 lead on home ice. And guess what? They have flipped to become the favorite right now in the game. Makes sense. They are minus 200 for the game with 13 minutes to go in the second period. Your live total is at 4.5, minus 135 to the over. But the Capitals minus 195 right now on the live line as they have the first goal of the game. And, you know, going back to, as I mentioned it earlier, the article that Jonathan Davis, our VSiN hockey analyst, wrote up on VSiN.com, the teams that lose the prior game in the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs this year have now scored the first goal of the next game 27 out of 41 times, and the first period goal 28 out of 41. So they're scoring first. And if you wanted to bet them to score in the first period, it was about minus 130 or so. That didn't cash, but to score the first goal, depending on the sports book, you could have gotten a plus money price on that, and that has cashed as they have the 1-0 lead. We need another goal here, and let's get our over 1.5. We'll feel very good moving into the rest of this evening. I mentioned in Major League Baseball, the Braves were looking to finish out a first 5 win over the Reds, but it's never easy. I say this all the time, and it's crazy how this works out. And it makes sense based on the odds of when the players come up to bat. But it's like it could be it's always like the hardest outs to get are always that 5th inning. And yes, I know you're projected to maybe face the top of the order for a 3rd time in that 5th inning. Although, like, if you go perfect, you're talking about, you know, you're talking about facing the bottom of the lineup for the 2nd time, right? And then the first part of the lineup for the 2nd time, you go 3-6-9 in the first inning. You go 3-6-9 in the first 3 innings. Then you get back to the top. You get through them in the 4th, and then the 5th, it's the middle and the bottom. But like most of the time, you're getting to the heart of the lineup, and you might have a chance to face a team a lineup for the third time. It's just funny how it always works out to be the most difficult outs that you get. Like whether, sometimes if you bet a full game and it's like, man, those ninth inning outs are the hardest to get. Last night I had the Blue Jays in Anaheim. They were up 4-2 going to the bottom of the ninth, and they got walked off. Lost the game 5-4. Hardest outs to get are the last ones. Right now, Braves' first 5-inning bet, well, Cincinnati has led off the inning with a Steer single, followed by an Espinal single, and now Tyler Stevenson is up with first and third and nobody out. Braves holding on to a 1-0 lead here in the top of the fifth inning. Meanwhile, it was Ozuna, Olsen, and Albies getting out in the bottom of the fourth inning, meaning in the bottom of the fifth inning, it's the bottom of the lineup for the Atlanta Braves. Murphy, White, Harris, Allen are scheduled up for the Braves. So a Braves first 5-inning bet, which sweating out right now, doesn't look great if it has to go to the bottom of the fifth inning and you need them to score a run. But top of the fifth not over yet. You're hoping that Spencer Schwellenbach can get out of it cleanly, and he does strike out Tyler Stevenson. So now Jose Trevino is up, and a ground ball double play will get him out of the jam as we await to see what happens here in the top of the fifth inning. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Phillies, whom I recommended playing a live bet on because I can see them doing some damage here as they progress throughout the game. They are in the top of the fifth inning. They did get a runner on here in the top of the fifth inning in JT Realmuto, who walked, but you had Castellanos strike out. Max Kepler flied out to left. Kepler now 0 of 3 in his career against Ryan Pepiot, and Alec Boehm has struck out to end the top of the fifth inning. So they head to the bottom of the fifth there in Tampa. Tampa wins the first 5-inning bet, but I still recommend a live bet on the Phillies because I can see them doing some damage here. In fact, let me look at the bullpen ERAs for both of these teams and see where we're at right now. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they have, let's see, the Tampa Bay Rays with a bullpen ERA of 3.16. Philadelphia, meanwhile, their bullpen ERA is 4.66. Oof. So maybe a live over. That could be a way to look. Not exactly two trustworthy bullpens, if you will, in that game. Live total right now, with it being 2-1 going to the bottom of the fifth inning, is at 7.5. Maybe a live over is the way to look as opposed to getting the Phillies. And think about it this way. As the Reds do score a run in the top of the fifth inning, so a 1-1 tie between the Reds and the Braves, as it was a hit by Trevino. Let's see, because now it is, double. Wow. Double for Trevino, second and third with one out. So now the Braves in jeopardy of not just putting you in push territory, but absolutely losing the first 5-inning bet there. But going back to that Phillies game for a moment, as we try and calculate whether or not the over is actually a better play. If I like the Phillies to come back and win, or if I think the Phillies are live to come back and win, that means I absolutely need at least, at the bare minimum, 2 more runs in this game. That makes sense. I'm not saying anything out of school here, right? Phillies are down 2-1. In order for Philly to win, they, at the very least, if no other runs are scored in this game, it would be a 3-2 final. Well, at 3-2, that's already 5 runs. Can I get 3 more runs to push me towards a live over, which right now is at 6.5, not 7.5, because, as I mentioned, we're going to the bottom of the fifth inning there. Well, I got to be honest. I like that bet better. Because if I believe in the Phillies' ability to come back and score, then I'm at least getting 5 runs in the game. If I need 7 to cash this over, well, I think it's possible with the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning at bats for the Phillies. And here's the other kicker about this. You might only need, if it's only 1 run, a 2-2 game could get you into extra innings where both teams will have the ghost runner. And then you could be live for a live over there with runs being scored in the extra innings. Or the game could be 3-3, tied at 6, and now guess what? You're guaranteed your winner at over 6.5. So maybe rather than playing the Phillies at the plus 130 price here, I would just lay a little bit of juice here at minus 140 to go over 6.5 runs. Again, not trusting the bullpens here for both of these teams. As I mentioned, the Phillies bullpen ERA 4.66 on the season. Rays bullpen ERA 3.16, a little bit better. But if I believe in the Phillies' ability to score runs, well, I'm just asking for a couple of more. And maybe the Rays can contribute as well. At least it's not a one-sided bet. Like, I'm not banking on just one team to do all the scoring. I could get help from the other team. So I think that's the better bet, is to do the live over at 6.5 as opposed to the Phillies to come back at plus 130. Unless you truly believe that this is a 3-2 win for the Phillies and we're not going to get any more runs for the rest of the game. Remember, small ballpark in Tampa. It is not Tropicana Field. The Rays ballpark is the Yankees spring training ballpark, identical dimensions to Yankee Stadium. So you got the short porch in right field. You got the short shot down the line in left field. Runs could be scored here. I'd rather go with this live over. Schwellenbach gets out of the top of the fifth, so Braves and Reds are knotted at 5. Your first 5-inning bet on the Braves. If you took the first 5 on the money line, you are at least guaranteed a push, but the Braves will send Murphy, White, and Harris to the plate in the bottom of the 5th inning as they look for the lead. Braves right now on the live line, minus 215. How about that? Hey, ready to get in on the action? First Bet's got you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com. That's the number one stbet.com and use promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. We are minutes away from the start of the Warriors Timberwolves game number 2. We'll give you our best bets for that game coming up next with me, Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. This is VSiN Primetime, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Please excuse my happy dance. The Atlanta Braves have scored in the bottom of the 5th inning, so we cashed a first 5 bet on the Atlanta Braves. Despite giving up the lead in the top of the 5th, they get it back for us here in the bottom of the 5th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is VSiN Primetime, and it's time to get to our game of the night.
The lights are on and the stakes are high. It's the primetime game of the night.
We are 5 minutes away from tip-off of Game 2 of the Western Conference semifinal matchup between the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The big story in this series, of course, no Steph Curry for the Golden State Warriors. And he didn't play the majority of that game number 1, and the Warriors still won out to a convincing victory over the Timberwolves in that game number 1. But what did we see from Minnesota in game 1 of that series? We saw a team that couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. That's the expression, right? 5 of 29 from three-point range for the Timberwolves in that game, and it was a lot worse in the first half. But this is where the series turns around. Right now, if you look at the odds in the series, the Timberwolves are still a heavy favorite despite being down 1-0, and it is because of the value that Steph Curry brings to the Golden State Warriors. They were able to get a Game 1 victory tonight here in Game 2. I don't see it being the case, but my best bet for this game, the way that I'm going to attack this game, is to attack the Warriors early on. I'm going to be following a system that we've been following this entire NBA playoffs, and it has been extremely profitable. And that is when a home favorite loses a game, and then they are a home favorite once again in the next game of the series. These teams have bounced back to dominate the first half of games. I'll say that again. They have dominated the first half of games, outscoring their opponents 63.2 to 47.2 in the first half. And if you go back to the start of the 2021 season, so not just this season, not just the 5 games that we saw in this postseason, but if you go back to the start of the 2021 season, those teams are outscoring their opponents by 8 points in the first half, 59 to just under 51. So the best bet for me in this game is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves -7 in the first half. Now, this number is taxed a bit. It has gone up because looking across the board, the Timberwolves are now an 11-point favorite across the board. And the best number you can get right now in the first half, could have gotten 6.5 earlier, could have maybe gotten 6 yesterday or so. Right now, the best number is -7. I'm willing to take that best number right now. So I recommend Timberwolves -7 first half. Best bet for this game. If you are intrigued by a first quarter bet, Timberwolves are -4 for the first quarter. I would bet the Timberwolves in the first quarter as well. Because when I looked at the games that these teams have played as the home favorite that lost and is now the home favorite once again, the first quarter has been the dominant quarter in the game. The opponents, those road dogs that stole the game, this postseason are averaging just 16 points in the first quarter. As not only is it a much better offensive performance from these teams, scoring 32.6 points per first quarter, the home teams that lost the game prior, but defensively, they come out with a renewed intensity. Since 2021, these teams averaging in the first quarter just 24 points in the first quarter. So I would lay the -4 in the first quarter as well, as we've seen it in this postseason and even earlier in these playoffs with these very same Golden State Warriors in a game in which they had Steph Curry in the lineup, playing in this role as the road team that stole a game against a favorite. They did not score in the first quarter. That's right. But look at what we saw last night. Nuggets scored 21. Knicks scored 13. The night before that, Pacers scored just 15. And yes, these Golden State Warriors scored 18 points against the Rockets in this similar role, winning game 1 on the road as the dog, and then in game number 2 as the dog, scoring just 18 points in the first quarter. So, Timberwolves -4 first quarter. Timberwolves -7 first half. The first half more so in the first quarter, but those are two best bets for the Warriors and Timberwolves game that is tipping off momentarily. And best bets are brought to you by G-Bank. Get the G-Bank Visa Signature Card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. That's even when you put your own money on the card. So, G-Bank, they treat gaming transactions as purchases. So you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also, with G-Bank, you're earning 1% cash back rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cash back rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now at vsin.com/Gbank. That's vsin.com/Gbank. We are moments away from tip-off in Golden State, and we are officially getting underway. We'll track our best bets. Meanwhile, on the ice, we got about 4 minutes to sweat out here to cash our best bet that we gave out earlier, which was the second period to go over 1.5 goals. The Capitals helped us out. 2 minutes into the second period, Washington scored the first goal in this game. And for those keeping track at home, the team, and we talk about this system over and over again, the team that is coming off of a loss here in these playoffs, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, has scored the first goal of the next game 27 out of 41 times. 27 out of 41 times now, the team that has lost the game has scored the first goal of the next game with the Capitals scoring the first goal in this game. But the Hurricanes are on a power play, or is that Washington on a power play? Washington is on a power play. We need another goal because we played the over 1.5 here in the second period. We got the first goal 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the period, but we have gone the next 16 minutes or so with no goals, and we need one here desperately in the final 3 minutes of this second period. Meanwhile, we are off to the start that we anticipated there in Golden State as the Timberwolves make their first three and the Warriors miss their first three. So we're going to be looking at a lot of that here in this game. Washington still on the power play as we are under 3 minutes or so to go here in this second period, and we are sweating out, needing one goal here to cash the over 1.5 in the second period. I don't know about a live total. I mean, this game was an under game for me from the get-go at under 5.5. I didn't have any interest on playing a live total, whether it was over or under. The only thing that I wanted to play after a scoreless first period was to play the over 1.5 goals in the second period. It's something that I've been doing a lot here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially when you look at the shot numbers and you look at the high danger scoring chances that we've had in these games. If, in fact, the goaltenders step up and we do get 0 goals in the first period, I tend to think that once the floodgates open and once you get 1 goal, they start to come in bunches here. Usually a team scores, the other team responds, and we've seen, how many times have we seen in these playoffs, the goals come very quickly. I mean, last night in Winnipeg, the Jets scored to tie the game and then gave up the go-ahead goal 13 seconds later. I mean, the fans were still celebrating and slapping high fives with each other, and all of a sudden, before they got back in their seats, they lost the lead. And the Dallas Stars went on to win that game. 5 goals last night scored in that second period. That was crazy. We still have the Golden Knights and the Oilers, Game 2, coming up in about an hour or so here in Vegas. And coming up later on the program, we're going to be joined by Ian Cameron. We'll get his thoughts on the Golden Knights game against the Edmonton Oilers. But going to continue to sweat this out here as, let's see, we got 2:44 left to go in the second period. Your live total in this game, by the way, is at 3.5. I don't have an interest in the 3.5. Now, I know that even if this period does end 1-0, which I hope it doesn't because of our best bet, but even if it does, 1-1 could become, or 2-0 could easily become 3-0 or 4-0 with the empty net possibilities. But just watching the way that these two teams have played and watching them play into overtime tied at 1 in game number 1, that's the type of series this feels like. This feels like an under series. And yes, I know empty netters are dangerous. Yes, I know both of these teams are capable of scoring, but it just feels like the type of series where if the game is tied, it feels like it's going to stay tied, where these teams aren't giving up an inch. And so goals might be very, very hard to come by. But we are still alive, but it's fading quickly. But 2 minutes left. 1-0. The Capitals lead the Canadiens. And through the first couple of minutes here, we have the Timberwolves with an 8-0 lead over the Warriors 2 minutes into the first quarter. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's prime time right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, good news and bad news. The bad news is we did not cash our second period bet as only the 1 goal was scored in the second period between the Capitals and the Hurricanes as they head to the second intermission with the Capitals holding on to that 1-0 lead. But the good news is that the first quarter in this Minnesota Timberwolves game with the Golden State Warriors has started out exactly how we thought it was going to start out, exactly how we bet it to start out. Now, it's still very early. We've only played 4 minutes in this game. But through 4 minutes in this game, the Timberwolves lead 13-0. And I will repeat the numbers that I gave out prior to this game starting when we made our best bet. And we had 2 best bets. The first best bet was the Timberwolves to cover the -7 in the first half. The second best bet was the Timberwolves to cover the 4 in the first quarter. And the reason being is that if you look back, just let's start with this postseason. There's been 5 times this postseason that a team has won game 1 on the road as the underdog. And we talk about it. It happened, the 4 times in the second round with the Thunder, the Celtics, the Cavs, and these Warriors. And then it also happened 2 times in the first round with the Warriors winning game 1 and the Timberwolves winning game 1 in LA. If you go back and you look at all of these games, just the 5 games that we've seen so far, the first quarter is being dominated by those home favorites. 32.6 points in the first quarter to just 16.4 points in the first quarter for those road teams. And just look at those individual games, okay? Last night, Knicks scored just 13 points in the first quarter. The Nuggets scored 21 points in the first quarter. The Pacers scored 15 points in the first quarter. And then the Warriors, even earlier this season, postseason, against the Rockets in that game, scored 18 points in the first quarter. And you know what? Even in game 1 of this very series, when Steph Curry was available, the Warriors still only scored 18 points in the first quarter. And so, playing the Warriors to go under in the first quarter, that number was like 18.5, 19.5. That was too low of a number for me because I could have, I was thinking I was scared off that number because I thought of, last night I was thinking, you know how the Thunder blew them out, 45-21. Thunder led the Nuggets after the first quarter. That's kind of like what I thought could happen here, where it could have been like a 30-20 quarter for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But, this is just this is an incredible start as the Warriors finally have made a basket. That's right. Jimmy Butler makes a 3, the first made basket for the Golden State Warriors in this game. They were 0 of 9 before Butler made that shot. Warriors are now 1 of 9 from the field. So we're going to keep an eye on this. Again, multiple bets that we have across this first half and first quarter, but the best bet was the Timberwolves in the first half, minus the 7, and the second best bet was laying the -4 in the first quarter for the Timberwolves as they are up 13-5 with under 6 minutes to go in this first quarter as the Warriors just 2 of 10 from the field. 2 of 10 from the field. And the Timberwolves, not much better. They are 5 of 10 from the field, but at least 5 of 10 is 50%. And the three-pointers. Warriors 1 of 6 early on here, and the Timberwolves 2 of 3 from three-point range. Here's what we're looking at in terms of a live line. The Timberwolves are minus 14.5 right now on the live line. Your live total is at 191.5. This game closed as money came in on the Timberwolves, and they were pushed up from a 10-point favorite at open to a 10.5-point favorite for the majority of the day today. They closed as an 11-point favorite, and your total didn't have much movement. It closed at 202.5. But your live numbers right now, Timberwolves minus 14.5 and your live total of 191.5. And this was the fear. How are the Warriors going to score without Curry? Last game, they were able to score, but it was Draymond Green hitting a bunch of threes that you didn't really expect him to do. And they were aided by the Minnesota Timberwolves not being able to make a single shot. I mean, they missed so many shots in that first game. And it wasn't just the three-pointers. So many shots were missed in that game number one. That if the variance just came back around, because that's what the shooting is, I mean, three-point shooting especially, is all variance. If it comes back around and the Wolves don't shoot as bad as they did in game number one, they're going to be fine in this game. And the Warriors, who without Steph Curry, obviously, you knew they were going to maybe struggle to score. Were they going to get the performances in game number two that they got in game number one? I never thought that was going to be the case. Were they going to get 4 3-pointers from Draymond Green? Were they going to get 7 3-pointers from Buddy Hield? I don't think that is going to be the case here. This game has Minnesota written all over it. And once again, the trend lines that we pointed to, The home favorites lose a game in the playoffs. Home favorites, again, they are outscoring their opponents 63-47 in the first half. And really in the first quarter is where the difference has been, not just this year, where the teams this year, those road teams like the Warriors are, only scoring 16 points in the first quarter. But just in general, they are outscoring their opponents 29-24 in the first quarter. The home teams are. And if you go back since 2021, that's where I looked, you're outscoring your opponents by 8 points in the first half. 5 in the first quarter, 8 in the first half, which is why we laid it in the first half here, -7 with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and even -4 in the first quarter with the Timberwolves. As we have gotten a stoppage in play, 5 minutes and 24 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Timberwolves 13-5 lead over the Warriors. Minnesota -14.5 point favorites with a total of 192.5. Still waiting for our late baseball games to start. Got another 40 minutes or so for those two games to start, but checking in on the two games that are in progress right now. We have had no additional scoring here in Tampa. Rays still lead the Phillies 2-1, bottom of the 7th, and they're in the top of the 7th now with the Braves holding on to a 2-1 lead over the Cincinnati Reds. Your two games that are coming up a little bit later on at 6:38 Pacific time. The Angels hosting the Blue Jays. Jose Soriano on the mound for the Angels. And for the Blue Jays, it is Chris Bassett. The Angels winning in walk-off fashion last night. Down 4-2, going to the bottom of the 9th inning. And they were able to get they loaded the bases with nobody out. Then there was a strikeout. And with one out, it was, I believe it was Soler. Who was it that hit the walk-off last night? A bases clearing, Jorge Soler, a bases clearing double down the line, which honestly, watching that unfold as somebody who unfortunately bet the Blue Jays last night, why was the third baseman playing so far off the line? I get it, like you kind of want to be in double play depth, so you play in a position where like, okay, if you get the ball hit to you, you're able to turn two at second base. But honestly, like, at that point, you want to play no doubles defense, and you want to guard the lines so that the double doesn't tie the game or even beat you. And that's exactly what happened. That ball was just smoked down the line past the diving player at third base. If he's guarding the line there, that might be at least one out. At least you get the ground out at second. Maybe you don't get the double play, but at least you're getting one out there. Or maybe the ball's hit to you hard enough at third, you might be going home for the first out to protect that run. And maybe you don't turn two, you don't go home to first or home to third or whatever it is, but you certainly don't allow a bases clearing double down the line if you are guarding the line in that situation. But I digress. We'll see if the Blue Jays can bounce back tonight with Chris Bassett on the mound. Bassett has been tremendous this year with a 2.95 ERA. Meanwhile, the Dodgers will take on the Diamondbacks. That's at 6:40 Pacific time tonight. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the mound for the Dodgers, 4-2 this year with a 0.90 ERA. What a tremendous season Yamamoto has had. He goes up against Brandon Pfaadt with his 3.79 ERA. And if you look at the numbers for these Dodgers players against Brandon Pfaadt, they all hit him extremely well. This is a Dodgers team that has faced Pfaadt before and can certainly rack up some runs against him. Just diving in real quick, you got Barnes batting .600 against him, Mookie Betts .364, Conforto .429, 308 for Freeman, .333 for Ohtani, .375 for Will Smith. Boy, these Dodgers have great numbers against Brandon Pfaadt. A reminder, ProfitX is offering the best odds on baseball all season long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind here in the U.S. You'll be able to make your picks against other groups of fans rather than against sportsbooks, and exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today with code VSiN and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is VSiN.